I think I'm live. Okay. Hello, welcome to the Flipping and Wholesaling Houses in New York show. I am Michael Pinter, where I teach you how to start flipping or wholesaling houses in New York or elsewhere, if you're already doing it, how to grow your business. These stupid Facebook tips keep coming up when you go live. It's a pain in the ass. Okay. So, got a great question. How do you know when a seller is motivated when you're wholesaling or flipping houses? Now, it's a great question. So let's go through a few things. I'm a huge fan of Brent Daniels' 4 pillars of motivation. So the questions you're going to ask a seller are going to be about those 4 pillars. Now the 4 pillars of motivation are, and I'm giving you them in the order that I give them, that I ask them. Time frame, right? So when do they want to sell? Obviously, if they want to sell quickly, as soon as possible, or they have a specific time, that's good. Then we ask about a reason. Why are they selling, right? Do they have a good reason? Now, sometimes somebody will strike out on both those, right? Somebody, you'll say, hey, when do you want to sell? I don't know. Whenever. I'm in no rush. And sometimes you'll ask them why you're selling. And they'll say, nah, no reason. You called me, right? So that usually, to me, indicates a real waste of time. And we're going to talk about what you do to find out if there's motivation. And that basically is by pushing back. Third pillar of motivation is condition. So you want to ask about the condition of the house. Obviously, if they say great words like it's a knockdown, it's a full gut, it's a disaster, it's horrible, that's amazing. But I usually ask them to give me on a scale of 1 to 10, and I find if they give me a 7 or less, there's possibility. Again, a 7 can be nice, and a 7 can be a disaster. And then the fourth is price, right? You want to try and get price from them. Sometimes they just want a lower price, and then whether they're motivated or not, it's a good deal, right? Because you can pay what they ask. So if anybody checks off any of those 4 boxes, reason is the weakest of them, right? Because sometimes somebody has a good reason, but that doesn't mean they're really motivated, right? Michael, I got to get out of New York. I hate New York, right? I get that all the time. But that doesn't mean they're going to sell at a discount, right? The others are more indicative of selling at a discount. Obviously, if they give you price and that's low, that's indicative of a discount, obviously. And then there is, horrible condition, that's indicative that they're going to sell at a discount. And time frame, if they have some kind of time constraint. Now, to be honest, I have bought more houses from people who needed more time on the back end and just wanted to be in contract now than I have bought from people who were in a real rush. I bought it from people in a rush, but I have bought, I don't know what that is, more houses from people who really just needed to know that they had a buyer and then didn't have a place to go yet, or were waiting for a property to be built, or were waiting to find something. They just didn't want to be on a typical buyer's time frame. Okay, so that's a good question. Now, the real way you find out motivation is to push back, right? And no beginner will do this. They're terrified. If I push back, I'm going to lose a deal. So if someone, for example, someone strikes out on the first 2 questions that I ask, the questions that we ask, I'm not the one asking the questions. Sometimes I do. But if I ask about time frame and they go, I don't know, and no rush, and I ask them about reason, they go, no reason. This is what I say to them. I go, listen, I'm an investor. I have to buy properties at a discount to make a profit. It sounds like we're not a good fit. Now, that is an amazing line, right? I should charge just to give those three sentences. What those 3 sentences do, it does so many things. So first of all, you sound differently than the 99% of the people are going to call them. 99% of the people who call them are going to be like, we'll close in 24 hours. We want to buy your house. Sell me your house. They're hitting you over the head with a hammer. Sell me your house. And you're going, I don't think we're a good fit. So first of all, you're different. And you gain credibility by being honest. But the most important thing is, if there really is motivation there, and sometimes there is. Sometimes people have a real motivation. They really need to sell, but they don't want to tell you that. Especially in New York, where everybody has their guard up, and they are not giving you honest answers. So you're going to say, when do you want to sell? And they go, I'm in no rush. And then later you find out that, they have 3 weeks to sell it. Or they say no reason, and then you find out, the house is about to be demolished is about to get a demolition order from the town. So when you push back, then only 2 things can happen when you push back. One is they go, you're right? And most of the time that's going to be what happens. Most times, you're right, we're not a good fit, I'm not selling at a discount. And then you save yourself a tremendous amount of time, right? I used to foolishly ask first about condition, and I would say in the most general way, tell me a little bit about the house, and I would just listen, and I would hear stories about the house. Very often wouldn't tell me anything about what I wanted to know. So you get to the gist of it, right? On a call, you got to collect their information. You got to make sure they're calling about a house. You got to get all the address. But then when you go into those first 2 questions, if it's not a good fit, and very often it's not a good fit, people are calling, but they really just want to. I just want to know what I just want to know price. You don't want to talk to people who are just looking for price who are never going to sell you a house, right? You don't want to. You want to limit your time on the phone with them as much as possible. So when you push back, most of the time they're going to say you're right, and then sometimes, let's say 1 or 2 out of 10, they're going to say, wait a second, you don't understand, right? I have 12 tenants in there that haven't paid me rent in 4 years. Then you get to the truth. Those are really good leads, right? The ones when you push back and they come back to you, those are really motivated, right? They may not have been honest with you, but that's a story. So in general, also, if somebody tells me the house is in excellent condition, I usually see something like that sounds like something you might want to list with an agent. Do you have somebody to list it with? Now again, I take listings, right? I'm going to close on a listing, I think, tomorrow. I'm going to make, I think $12,000 or $14,000. So I take listings. So certainly I'm going to try and inject myself in a situation where somebody's listing it. If they told me they have somebody they're dealing with, I probably won't try and sell myself. But if they don't, I'm going to try and get that listing. But sometimes that gives away a lot of information. So I'll say something like, that sounds like something you might want to list. Have you spoken to an agent? And then they'll say something like, I am never going to list it with an agent. And then I'm going, whoa, why is that? And you'll hear a story of how they listed with an agent 6 years ago, and the agent screwed them over, and the buyer screwed them over, and everybody screwed them over, and they're never going to sell it that way again. That's good information, right? That, if it's a motivated seller, but it's somebody who understands that they're going to sell. If they're going to sell it to a investor, they're going to have to sell it at a discount, and there could be other reasons why, right? So that's important. So you always want to find out what your competition is. The way to find out what your competition is to ask about it, right? Hey, have you thought about listing it with an agent? Right? Sometimes people will tell me, the house sounds great, sounds good, no motivation. I'll be like, why don't you list it? And they'll be like, well, I don't want to say anything, but there's really this big problem. And then you find out. You want to ask, hey, why don't you keep it? Are you interested in just keeping the house? Right? And you find out, well, I can't keep it, I can't afford it anymore. That's good information too. Why don't you keep it and rent it, right? You see, that's less likely to be asked in our area, because most of the time the rent is not going to cover a mortgage payment plus taxes, right? By us, unless they bought it really cheap and the mortgage payment's very low. So, but you want to finding out what your second best competition is besides selling to an investor. So you want to push back, and by pushing back, you get motivation. The great Greg Helbeck has a whole system which is really good, where he sort of wants to check off if they know they're going to get less than retail for it, if the property's vacant. These are things that he checks off, and if it meets a certain point system, he considers that a motivator. So I think it's great, right? But I've had people who had vacant houses and really weren't motivated. Like, I don't care, I'll pay the taxes. I want X dollars. I want $600,000 for it. I'm like, you're just paying taxes on it. He's like, well, if I don't get my number, I'm not getting it. Okay, that's probably not really a motivated seller. But the way Greg Helbeck also describes it is he wants reasonable sellers, right? People have this misconception that we swoop in to people at the worst times of their life and take advantage of them, right? We find some guy who's about to lose the property to foreclosure. Jeez Louise. We find someone who's, who the house is about to fall over, and we swoop in and take advantage of them. But more likely, what happens is that people just want the certainty, convenience, and control that we provide. I used to say certainty and convenience. Now, control is really good too. We provide the certainty that we have no outs on our contract. There's no mortgage contingency, so we can't jerk them around for 4 months and then leave, like has happened to me and has happened to plenty of people. You want the convenience of not having to show it 500 times, of not having to deal with an inspector who shows up and says, hey, you need to make repairs, not having to deal with issues where the guy's going to come and change his price later, and control as to when is it going to close, right? Some people just don't want to be on a buyer's timeline, as we spoke before, and that's what an investor provides. We provide certainty, convenience, and control, right? 3 C's. And it's important to understand that that we're open and honest. I tell people this all the time. I go, listen, if you want to squeeze every dollar out of it, you should list it with an agent. You'll get more money. You can list it with me or with somebody else. But if you can't, if there's some reason why you don't want to do that, if you want to close really quickly, or you just don't want to clean it out, right? Sometimes these houses are full of crap. It's going to take them weeks to clean it out. If you don't want to clean it out, I'll deal with the cleaning, but you're going to have to give up some of the equity to do that. So it's very clear. So this is how we judge motivation, right? With the 4 pillars of motivation. I hope this was helpful. If you're interested in all the ways I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com. If you're interested in finding out more about one-on-one coaching, go to coaching.howtoflipnewyork.com. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're watching on any media channel, including YouTube, please click the thumbs up. The likes really help my SEO, my search engine optimization, so more people see my videos. And please keep the comments coming. I post 5 times a week. I don't really always know what to say, so anytime you can give me some comments, they help. This came from a comment, and I really appreciate it. I would love to do more videos based on comments. So thank you very, very much for watching. I really, really appreciate your viewership.